Chapter 1. The Architects of Life. As told by Hydrolena, Senior Life Carrier of Nebadon. I am Hydrolena, no relation to hydrogen, though I shimmer through galaxies with the same persistence as a river carving canyons. My order is called the Life Carriers. We are gardeners of beginnings, midwives of matter, watchers at the delicate boundary where dust strains to become DNA. But before I tell you of my work on your little blue planet called Urantia, before I unfold how we prepared your seas and placed within them the sacred seed of life, I must first draw your attention farther back, farther in, beyond planets, beyond stars, beyond time itself. For all stories, even mine, flow from a greater source, and unless you glimpse that source, you will never quite understand why life exists at all. The eternal source. Imagine a spring that never began to flow and will never run dry. Imagine a fountain without a first drop, a tide without an origin, an ocean with no opposite shore. That, child of Urantia, is what you call God, though in truth no word is large enough, no tongue full enough, no name final enough to contain him. The Urantia book calls him the Universal Father, the first source and center. He was not created, for there was never a time when he was not. He is the self-existent origin, the still point from which all currents surge. Every star you see, every breath you take, every beat of your heart, each is a ripple carried outward from that infinite spring. You wonder, but how can something have no beginning? Ah, dear one, your mind, shaped by clocks and calendars, finds it hard to grasp. Everything you know has a start. Rivers from rains, trees from seeds, children from parents. But the source himself is uncaused. He is not an effect of something before him, he simply is. As water is wet, as light is bright, God is existence itself. The revelators of the Urantia book describe him as infinite in love, endless in mercy, boundless in power, yet intimate in care, the origin of all laws of physics, yet tender enough to notice the fall of a sparrow. If the galaxies are the ocean, he is the depth. If creation is a river delta, he is the hidden spring in the mountains from which it flows. God as Father. You call him God, we call him the Father. And Father is no empty metaphor, it is the truest word available to describe his relationship to you. Just as water fills every vessel it touches, the Father's presence pervades all. He indwells every being capable of knowing him, through the fragment you call the thought adjuster. That indwelling spirit is not symbolic. It is the very presence of God within you. You are not orphans in a cold universe. You are beloved children, heirs to eternity. Even when you feel adrift, the current of his will is beneath you, carrying you forward. A personal memory. I remember when I first understood the Father's eternal nature. I was still a young life carrier then, eager to run ahead, impatient to plant, to prove myself. My teacher, a Melchizedek, asked me to sit beside a mountain spring on Jerusalem. We sat in silence as the water bubbled from the rocks. A day passed, then another. I grew restless. Finally, he said, "Hydrolena, do you see how this spring flows without pause, needing no hand to draw it? That is how the Father is. He requires no beginning, no cause. He simply flows, and all else flows from him." Since that moment, every stream I have watched, every tide I have heard, has reminded me of him, the fountain without beginning, the ocean without end. From source to streams. From the Father flow all realities. Outward from him arise the eternal Son, the infinite Spirit, the countless universes, and the cascading ranks of celestial beings, including myself. I am a life carrier, yes, but first I am a child of God. My very being, my very capacity to serve, is a stream flowing from his ocean, and the same is true for you. Your body may be dust, but your spirit spark comes from the source that never began. You are a drop of eternity learning to speak in time. This, dear one, is why life is never random. It is rooted in intention, flowing from a source who is both infinite and intimate. The long search. Now, having said this, let me turn back toward our work. For while the source is eternal, creation unfolds in seasons. Life carriers are not haphazard wanderers. We do not scatter seeds upon the void like careless farmers. We are sent, carefully and reverently, to spheres prepared across ages. Planets are tested, measured, and held in patient watch. Urantia was one such sphere. In its youth, it was fire and fury, molten crust, choking gases, oceans boiling beneath a vaporous sky. For ages it rolled, unfit for habitation. We waited as it cooled, as its seas gathered, as its atmosphere formed a shield. We tasted its minerals, gauged its tides, watched its sun settle into a steady flame. An anecdote from the waiting. I recall walking your coasts when they were nothing but steaming mudflats. The air was harsh. No bird could have breathed it. No child could have laughed in it. Yet I stood there, with several of my coworkers, our feet sinking into the new crust. We leaned close to the waves and whispered, as if to a restless infant, "Hush now, little ocean. One day you will cradle children." The seas roared back, ignorant, impatient. But I knew. I had seen 1,000 worlds before, and I could feel the Father's intention moving beneath the chaos. That is what it means to be a life carrier, to believe in tomorrow when today looks impossible. Urantia's special place. Finally, Urantia was recognized not just as suitable, but as special. It was designated a decimal world, 1 in 10 across the universe, where we are granted a wider margin of creativity. Do not misunderstand, we never play recklessly with life. But on such experimental worlds, we are allowed to introduce subtle variations, small changes in structure, in metabolism, in adaptation, that may reveal new pathways of growth. To us, these worlds are like test gardens, where divine design can be explored more fully. And oh, how carefully we guarded this privilege. For every variation must be weighed against the eternal pattern. Nothing is casual. Nothing is random. Every choice is reviewed by the councils above, and the Mother Spirit herself must give breath to what we arrange. Patience in the waiting. So we waited, not for decades, not for centuries, but for hundreds of millions of years. That is the rhythm of our work. As rivers carve valleys slowly, so too must we let worlds ripen. In the luminous laboratories of Jerusalem, we rehearsed the future. We placed models of your planet's chemistry into crystal vessels, simulated its atmosphere, and tested our plasm against its heat and gravity. Each time, we adjusted, as a gardener adjusts soil before planting. Waiting is our art form, and patience, I assure you, becomes worship when it is offered to the source of time itself. Another memory. Once, during those long ages of waiting, I wandered alone along Urantia's coasts. The tides crashed angrily, storms rolled across the young seas. I scooped a handful of water, hot with volcanic minerals, and let it run between my fingers. It hissed and steamed. And then a thought struck me. One day, hands will scoop these same waters, not mine but human hands, tiny, curious, soft. They will drink, bathe, splash, bless. They will learn to call this ocean mother. That vision carried me through the ages. The moment of permission. And then, after eons, the signal came. Not trumpets, not parades, just the quiet decree of the life-determining trio. It is time. Oh, what joy surged through us. After so many revolutions, we were at last to carry the plasm we had safeguarded for ages, the sacred blueprint tailored for Urantia's unique conditions. It was as though a mother, long pregnant with possibility, was finally told, "The child may be born." Planting in the waters. We did not scatter this plasm like seeds across a field. No. Life is too fragile, too precious. Instead, we placed it gently in the shallow, sunlit bays where minerals swirled and waters danced. We chose these places with reverence, for they were the warm tide pools where molecules might learn to embrace, divide, and endure. The plasm we carried was not alive in itself. It was pattern, potential, architecture awaiting breath. The true spark came only when the universe mother spirit, flowing from the infinite spirit, touched it with her currents. At that instant, matter became motion, chemistry became communion. The first cells stirred, and the long river of evolution began. Life as biography. It was never just biology, it was biography. From those first cells would one day rise creatures who would paint caves, compose symphonies, build telescopes, and ask the very question you are asking now. Where did I come from? Child of Urantia, you are not an accident. You are the fruit of an eternal plan, tended by patient gardeners, animated by the Spirit, flowing always toward the source from which you came. Children of dust and divinity. Let me speak plainly of you. You are children of dust with the breath of divinity inside you, rooted in animal beginnings, yet destined for angelic horizons. The plasm we planted carried not only the chemistry of cells, but the possibility of souls. This is the miracle. A fish may swim, a bird may fly, but you can worship, wonder, and choose. You can look up at the night sky and whisper, "Who planted me here?" That question itself is proof of your divine heritage. The closing current. So when you ponder your place in the cosmos, remember this. Behind every molecule lies intention. Behind every heartbeat flows eternity. You are not adrift in chaos. You are carried by currents older than time, guided by a source that never began and will never end. And I, Hydrolena, who stood on your shores before your first sunrise, am still here, watching, tending, believing in the beauty of your becoming. The river that carried you here will carry you on, beyond the horizon of death, beyond the stars themselves, back toward the ocean without shores, the universal Father, the first source and center, the spring that sings forever. Hydrolation. From silence of stars, the architects dreamed. Patterns of being and brilliance they schemed. Michael and Mother, with tender command, summoned the carriers to till fertile land. Not random, not reckless, but gardens of flame, worlds chosen with purpose, each orbit by name. We were the midwives, with vessels in hand, planting the plasm on ocean and sand. Patiently waiting while waters grew warm, guarding the seed through chaos and storm. From dust into destiny, life found its start, a river of purpose that flows from God's heart. And with that, the story of life will first current flows onward to the next chapter.